Hello, everybody. Welcome to Little Rusty Bucket. Subscribe to the channel and drop a like on this video. And I'm trying to hit 25K subs, so that subscription would be much appreciated. I am talking about Nuggets versus Thunder Game 5, and wow, what a great game this has been. I think I've only talked about maybe one or two games in this series up until this point, which I apologize for, but the large reason for this has been that the games have just been weird as hell. My number one takeaway going into this series was that role player shooting would define how this series would go. And I promise I'm not just trying to toot my own horn here. I'm actually shocked at the degree in which that has been true for the most part. Lou Dort hitting three-pointers in the fourth quarter of this one ended up making a huge difference overall. Michael Porter missing the two three-pointers that he did at the very end was a huge difference maker. Russell Westbrook going like 1 for 9 from three 1 or 2 games ago was also huge. This has been maybe it was the last game. This has been a series that has not been defined by Jokic and SGA, which has been weird. For the Denver Nuggets, I've said this already. I'm shocked as I could be by the increased play of this core. Michael Porter Jr. aside, Aaron Gordon has been playing like an all-star in this year's playoffs, and Jamal Murray, he's been off and on, and he overall didn't shoot the ball exceptionally well in this one, but he did have a lot of huge moments, a lot of huge shots. I kind of felt like he ran out of juice at the very end of the game there. But someone who did not was Nikola Jokic, who had 44 points in this one. And yes, he still took a higher volume of threes than normal, but it wasn't near double digits. He took 7 and he hit 5 of them. So you will take that. He overall went 17 for 25 from the field, which is 68%, 15 rebounds, 5 assists, 2 steals, only 2 turnovers. This is a hell of a game from him. And the fact that they won that game, forgive me for forgiving the order of operations here, but they won the game where he had like 13 points, and I was baffled by that. I would expect that they would win a game where you get 28 out of Jamal Murray and 44 from Nikola Jokic. That's 72 points, if I did that math correctly. So that's a lot. I can't imagine their record when they have 70 plus points in the playoffs is a losing one. This might be the only game that they have lost with these totals. I'm sure that's not true, but at the very least, I feel like those odds are bad. But Aaron Gordon only had 13 points on 13 shots in this one, not the all-star that I said he'd been. 1 for 7 from the field for Michael Porter Jr., 0 for 5 from outside. I sympathize because he's dealing with some sort of shoulder injury. But frankly, given the degree in which his shooting is basically the only thing that he does well, if his shoulder is hurt and it's going to make him shoot poorly, then I'm sorry, he just shouldn't play. It's hard to say that. He also is not a terrible defensive player as much as he still has that reputation. His length and versatility is helpful. I don't think you can play him. I don't think you should have been playing him. Russell Westbrook has put on a disaster class the last few games. 1 for 7 from the field in this one, 0 for 3 from outside. He got a really filthy steal on SGA that was a real momentum shifting play. And I felt like, oh shit, are we going to get the big Russell Westbrook game in OKC? But no such luck. Yeah, dude. Shooting. 13 for 46 from outside for Denver and 12 for 29 from three for OKC. So that's actually a great percentage. There's also a free throw disparity of 10 in OKC's favor, but didn't really feel like there were any bad ones in there. SGA only shot 6 free throws for his 31-point performance. And I'll tell you what, I was watching this one with bated breath because I knew if SGA continued the momentum of his first quarter and first half in this one, that he was going to be in for a lot of slander, and rightfully so. While I don't think Shea has been a disaster in these playoffs, he's definitely not been what I expected. He's definitely gone below the expectations of someone who, believes in the guy and has reinforced that belief over and over again. But this game, the way that he handled the late game execution was perfect. I saw a tweet from Carson Breber. I believe this is correct. but he said that SGA had assisted or scored on the last 15 points for the Thunder. That's not including like some free throws at the very tail end there, but scored or assisted on all of those. And then Jokic had 11 straight points at the end of the fourth quarter. So this game was defined by the superstars more than it had been. However, Shea was allowed to just kind of coast for large portions of the game. It wasn't necessarily that he was shooting terribly, although he did shoot terribly to the start, and I believe he had 4 turnovers in the first quarter. But more the issue was just that he was passive and also not really being able to get to his spots. A lot of this came down to players being able to take advantage of the advantage that he created, and the problem is they weren't doing that. J-Dub and Chet both had really good first halves, first 3 quarters, but they were not very good towards the end, so their overall shooting splits and volume is not that impressive. Chet, this was a much better game than any other game he's played in this series, except for maybe game 2. Again, I'm blanking on fuzzy on some of these details, but he was good in this one. He was efficient. Good stuff from him. Hartenstein with another good game, and Lou Dort, as I mentioned, with those 3 threes. Otherwise, outside of those shots, he went 1 for 5 from outside, and I believe he went like 2 for 10 in the last one. So that's an improvement. J-Dub did hit 2 of his 5 3-pointers, even if he shot 5 for 14 from the field for 18 points. And Alex Caruso went 3 for 6 from outside, and him being confident and ready as a shooter in this series has made a significant difference. I'm thinking there's a decent chance he will earn the true stamped sealed shooter badge this playoffs because he has had it on him. Historically speaking, about 82% of the time when a team goes down 3-2 after the series was tied after the first 4, the team that loses that game will lose the series 82% of the time. So the odds are heavily stacked against Denver. And I think that they got kind of a miracle win in that one game, and they did not win this game when they should have. So that kind of evens out to you being in a place similar to what should be expected. But Jokic has had, even though he was great in this one, maybe this is the sign of him breaking all of his struggles. But like, in order to win the last 2 games of this series, you have to have a perfect Jokic. You have to have a perfect Jokic. You also need Jamal Murray to not need 27 shots to get 28 points. You need Aaron Gordon to have another one of his big games. And then somebody else has to do something. Russell Westbrook has to do something. Christian Brown has to do something. Or Michael Porter Jr. has to do something. If none of them can, and you aren't getting a stellar performance out of Jamal, Jokic, and Gordon for both of the final 2 games, I don't think you'll win. I thought that Denver was a serious threat, and I still think that they are, even knowing the numbers are very much on OKC's side at this point. But they have made this a great series, and the way that they have defended SGA especially has been super impressive. Here's a take, and the percentages, I couldn't tell you what the percentages, even roughly, in terms of man-to-man defense versus zone or box and one, all kinds of different stuff. Either way, I think I've seen less straight up typical man-on-man defense in this series than I've seen in any other one. And in general in the NBA, I feel like man defense is becoming less and less the actual precedent of how you're being defended. Because the reason that Jokic and Shea have struggled in this series so much is the defense has constantly put them in a position of kind of being stuck in between decisions. It's similar to how the Knicks have defended Boston, because again, I think this has been league wide, this approach, but not doubling too much, but also doubling and trapping you as much as you can, and then making sure that it's a non-shooter or not a significant threat who is getting the ball. But it's very hard to read because they're not actually playing you straight up. A lot of the time it's 2 guys and then one of the help defenders like shading. They're showing so that you know that they're there, and they're often like Christian Brown is like playing super on SGA's right, knowing that if he drives left, he's going to get funneled right into Nikola Jokic's big body. or Aaron Gordon. Like, there is always help everywhere. It's been very hard for SGA to get to the rim. Most of his success has just been shooting mid-range shots over the defense. And as great as that defense has been, for him to be the caliber of player that I said that he is, he needs to be able to stand up and play better than he has been in spite of that defense. But he closed this game really strong. His processing was phenomenal. And I think OKC will probably win this series. I hope that Denver wins game 6, though, because I always want a game 7. Game 7 is way more fun. I will probably be streaming game 7 or game 6 of this series, rather. We shall see. But yeah, that is it. Goodbye.